considering that potentially disruptive technology is or can be the enabler for disruptive innovation, which is often the case. I mean, you have technological development. If you take digital photography, the resolution of the sensor was a key enabler for finally enabling the disruptive innovation now of digital photography.
Welcome to Innovation Talks. Join us weekly as we discuss with distinguished industry guests how to refine and improve corporate innovation and new product development as businesses aim for long-term success. Hosted by Paul Heller, Sophion CTO.
If you are looking for additional information around new product development or corporate innovation, sign up for Sophion's newsletter where we share news and industry best practices monthly. The fastest way to do this is to go to sophion.com, that's SOPHEON.com, and click the sign up and stay informed box. Welcome everybody. Glad you could join us again. We are joined today by a very interesting guest. His name is Sven Schimpf. You may have known him, but he's a professor of innovation at Pforzheim University, and he's also involved with the Fraunhofer Group for Innovation Research. And he's 50% in each right now. Fraunhofer published a really good document about 3 years ago that was entitled Understanding Change, Shaping the Future. And Sven is also, about 4 years ago, was very active in a study on road mapping, and 2 years ago began studying and focusing on disruptive technologies. Sven, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're joining us from where today?
I'm joining you from Stuttgart in Germany.
And how's things in Stuttgart these days? Weather, COVID?
Yeah, we have this strange situation now since a little bit more than 1 year and still influenced by that. So what is happening here, I'm working from at home as many people do at these times. I have my children at home and I'm missing a little bit the conversations in our coffee kitchen at work. So I'm really looking forward to the situation changing a little bit into the direction that we know since a long time.
Yeah, I feel very much the same. I miss the colleagues in the office. I miss the spontaneous things that you discover, as you said, around the coffee machine or in the cafeteria. So I'm looking forward as well to getting back, hopefully soon. Well, Sven, how did you first get involved in innovation?
Yeah, this was finally by the end of my studies. I studied business administration, socioeconomics in Germany and in France. And one of my last courses there was on organization and management. And one guy came up with, let's say, the topic of innovation management. This was in 1999. And I was fascinated by the topic, so I was looking out for possibilities to start my working career somewhere in this field. Ending up at Fraunhofer Institute for Industrial Engineering, which is quite still strong in technology and innovation management, and at that time was one of the unique organizations really leading with a large team in this topic area. So I ended up there, and since then I'm still enthusiastic about the topic. So looking out for new possibilities, how to support companies in better, let's say, developing ideas into successful solutions, products, services, and so on.
What are you working on now?
I have some projects that are, let's say, going into a general direction, like we at the Group for Innovation Research, we have the topic of the future of innovation. So we are doing foresight on innovation itself. How will innovation happen and look like in the future? My personal key topics, however, are how to deal with potentially disruptive technologies and innovations. And as, let's say, side projects at the moment, I'm working on several papers. For example, one on how to use science fiction in innovation management all along the process to extend a little bit the traditional scopes of foresight and innovation. And also, since we had 2 years ago the anniversary of the Bauhaus movement, I'm working at the moment together with an art historian and a designer and someone from SAP on the topic of how to transfer Bauhaus methodologies into the process of design thinking.
Wow. If listeners aren't familiar with Bauhaus, I highly recommend you check it out. It's very interesting. And what you just described, those two areas, Sven, Bauhaus and then science fiction. Wow, that sounds really exciting. I look forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, very general. I'm always looking out for topic areas, thematic areas where I can inspire or, let's say, provide companies with inspiration on looking on the left and the right side. And I'm a big fan of the topic or the terminology of serendipity. So getting to know things that you wouldn't normally get to know and then combining them on purpose or not.
Yeah. I wrote a paper, just a small blog post earlier this year on innovation serendipity. And it must be really impacted now in different ways because of work from home and closure of offices and no more conferences. I imagine a lot of serendipity just happened, just routine, two people meeting each other who aren't meeting now because they're not going to the conference.
Yes, I also think so because, we just discussed today the topic of how creative spaces, creativity rooms will develop in the future, just in the context of digitalization of cooperation and communication. And my personal perspective here, I'm with you. I think that the personal contact, trust building, and the exchange also in an informal and non-guided way is key for many innovations. Just at least for the innovations at the borderline of disciplines and sectors. So I think that still, even if we will have an increased amount of digitalization for communication, also in innovation, there will still be the place for creative spaces, creativity rooms, or something like meeting places, coffee kitchens, or cafeterias.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how that evolves into something. Well, I mentioned in the introduction this the paper from 2018 that Fraunhofer published. I understand you might be involved in an update on that. Can you tell us a little bit about that published paper and what its status is?
Yeah, the initial idea was that since we can speak about industrial innovation, so beginning of the 19th century, where the first R&D departments were developed, innovation changed until now. We have different trends that influenced innovation management, and innovation activities. Then, let's say we thought that we would like to support companies, policymakers, and also academics to better prepare for the future of innovation. And this is where it comes back to a standard or traditional foresight exercise. So we did a systems analysis. We identified the key influence factors on innovation itself. And then we started to take the key trends, key developments, or the most probable developments from our perspective. So this is not covering every potential development, but focused very much on developments that we think that will happen in the future. We developed 5 theses here in 2018 on how we think that innovation will look in the next 10 years, so in the year 2030. And what we are doing at the moment, because we had this event last year, COVID-19, which changed the world in many directions, we thought that it would be useful to create an update and recheck our assumptions, recheck our hypothesis that lie behind the thesis, and develop that further into an update that we have just finalized it in German, so it'll be available for download in German within the next days and within the next weeks, also in English.
Yeah. A 10-year outlook was what you mentioned. Do you think that COVID-19, the changes that it brings, will be somewhat short term, and in 10 years from now, it will look back and say it didn't change innovation, or from the original principles that you were looking at? Or do you think that there'll be some maybe longer lasting effects on innovation, that either good or bad, that came from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, our impression here is that there are many changes that will last for quite a long time. It doesn't necessarily change the thesis that we originally came up with, but rather also topics within these theses. Just to take an example, we said that innovation in the year 2030 will be much more driven by openness, the ability to learn, and by cooperation. Because we think that, same as in the past, you have geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci, who was able to cover all disciplines himself. So this is today not possible anymore.
Yeah.
You have to work in innovation teams. And we see trends coming up here like the maker movement, object-oriented solution development, and also, let's say, equipment that is available for everybody. So everybody is able to create prototypes nowadays based on something like a Raspberry Pi and a 3D printer, laser cutter, and so on. So this will change further. And now we had COVID-19. And COVID-19 digitalized the collaboration communication aspects here of innovation. So making it harder to create this personal contact, like creating serendipity, coming up with, let's say, informal communications, informal, let's say, innovation activities here. On the other hand, today it's much easier through this digitalization to get people, experts involved from the other end of the world. I mean, we have here now a podcast. We see each other on video, which you as a listener don't in this moment. But this would not have been possible before, let's say, this development. And nowadays we have it as a standard, and many companies are already saying that they will at least digitize a majority of their innovation workshops, or we also think that hybrid solutions will be here a standard in the future. So overall, the first thesis wasn't changed, but you have changes in there in two directions, like making it more easy to get people involved from the global level, and on the other hand, let's say, making it more difficult to get the personal contact. This was our logic here behind first the thesis and then also the update of the foresight activity.
Yeah, fantastic. You mentioned Raspberry Pis and 3D printing, and those are, for many people, I'm sure I know some of your hobbies are there but mine are as well. So it's personal, right? So now all of a sudden, these things that we like from a personal standpoint that we may use in our personal lives are intermixing with our business innovation in ways that didn't exist 10 years ago. Personal computers have been around for a long time, but the finesse of a Raspberry Pi and printing your own robotic components and making them operate, and it's very personal. And how do you see that affecting the personal side of the interest around these little technologies affecting maybe corporate innovation?
Yeah, I mean, the differentiation becomes more and more difficult here, because, I mean, as soon as technologies start to have an impact on a personal level, they should also be an integral part of business. It is important to interlink both. I mean, one of the nicest example here was the company Kerche. So they produce cleaning equipment, and I had a chat on 3D printers with the head of the R&D department. And finally, he came up with the idea of setting up a 3D printer in the R&D department. They already had 3D printers and access to it. But this one here, it was explicitly meant for personal use. So if you speak about new technologies that are of increasing importance on a personal level. So in the personal life of employees, of people working for a company, you should also create the link and enable them, push them forward so that they learn about this new technology and also about its advantages and inconveniences in that way, so that they can transfer this knowledge finally on their challenges that they have at work.
Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity there. I remember, what was it, in the early 2000s, the big thing in Silicon Valley was game rooms. You could have pinball machines and pool room, pool tables and exciting things to bring people together. Now it could be a little maker space right inside your company, couldn't it?
I think so. I think this is beneficial, and the next step would be opening up this makerspace for the collaboration with students, with people who have retired but who are still enthusiastic about the user perspective or about the company and so on. So create, let's say, a kind of melting pot enabled by this advanced production or prototyping equipment.
Yeah. And things that maybe the average home user can't get, maybe more advanced, whatever it happens to be, a little chip design software application or electronics application or what have you, better 3D printer, plasma cutter. I mean, you can imagine how fun that would be as a place to work for some people, and would also encourage innovation. So I think there's some really neat ideas. You mentioned disruptive innovation as an area of focus for you. What are you seeing from a disruptive innovation? How are companies dealing with it? Are they focused on it? Is it something they think about, or is it something that just is difficult for companies to get their arms and their minds around?
Yeah, first of all, the terminology of disruption gained importance in public debates, and therefore its usage today is very widespread and often confused with radical innovations and so on. So I personally, I normally take the initial definition from Christensen, who really was keen on identifying why the big companies fail, so why market leaders fail, and therefore defining disruptive innovation as an innovation that leads to changes in the market structure. So it makes investments of the market leaders obsolete by changing, for example, the technological architecture of a solution, thereby often also changes the market structure in a way that traditional market leaders lose their position. And I did this study a while ago, and the idea behind was more and more people, more and more companies are speaking about disruptive technologies, disruptive innovation. And for me, it was I was interested in how they really deal with it, because we have this difference in academia, and my assumption was that this is not reflected in practice, that we have many concepts available in theory on how to deal with potentially disruptive technologies and innovations. And I wanted to find out if companies are really doing something on that topic.
Do you think it comes from one individual, like an Elon Musk, right, who's at the top and can make disruptive innovation happen? Or, you can imagine a large company with a group of people who are really trying to make disruptive, but they've got a big organization around them. What can companies do? If you think about the big companies where they may have pockets of people who have great ideas and could bring disruptive innovation forward, what should companies do to enable that? That maybe don't have a strong leader at the top who might be making it happen.
I mean, first of all, it's much easier to come up with a disruption if you are not an established market leader. You do not have your investment in one area, and so it's much easier to set everything on the card of coming up with a new architecture, like here with Tesla, the electric drivetrain. For big companies who are already established in a market, this is this is a real challenge because, first of all, nobody inside the organization, or only few people inside the organization, will support such a big change of investment, of architecture, architecture, the architecture of the technology that is used. If you are an expert in combustion engines and if you have a set of engineers on your payroll, then it will be difficult to completely shift into a different direction. And the second point is the danger behind it, because many companies nowadays, they have the fear of potential disruptions because they know that their position might be endangered. I think this consists of many different things, and in the study I differentiated here between the phases of finally technology monitoring. I looked at how companies are dealing in the identification, evaluation, and development finally of potentially disruptive technologies in comparison with the identification, evaluation, and development of other technologies. Finally, considering that potentially disruptive technology is or can be the enabler for disruptive innovation, which is often the case. I mean, you have technological development. If you take digital photography, the sensor and the resolution of the sensor was a key enabler for finally enabling the disruptive innovation now of digital photography.
Yeah, that's great advice and perspective for many of our listeners. Just, Sven, if you were to give someone one piece of advice around innovation, what would it be?
That depends very much on whom to advise. If you come back to disruptive innovation, I mean, I would say, please treat potential disruptions, potential disruptive innovations, or potentially disruptive technologies in a different way than other innovations. For example, incremental developments. So you should search in other search fields. You should take different evaluation criteria because potential disruptions might fall through your network of evaluation criteria that you apply since years. And also, it might not be the wisest to take your existing R&D department and let them work on a potential disruption, because if you have, let's say, a switch from combustion engines to an electric drivetrain, your previously existing developers, specialists in combustion engines, might not be the best ones for developing an electric drivetrain. And these are challenges, but these are also, let's say, things that you look at finally. Overall, for innovation, it is difficult to advise, but I think it is worth investing in innovation and also investing in riskier innovation activities that really bring things forward and that are also able to change paradigms. And finally, there are many innovations that we are taking benefit of today that happened in the past. And the innovations that we are speaking about today might be the ones that we or our children will take benefit in the future.
Where do you see innovation because I know you've looked out 10 years with the research you've been doing, but maybe bring it even a little closer. In the next 5 to 10 years, you mentioned a little bit earlier some of the things. If you were to kind of summarize where we might be in 5 years, maybe when we've all figured out how to enable maker workspaces and kind of shift our thinking a little bit, where do you see it longer term going?
I mean, the most important development here from my perspective, as in many other areas, is the digitalization of, first of all, the outcome of innovation. This is, I think, clear. You speak here about the Internet of Things, so everything will be connected. But more important from an innovation perspective is the digitalization of the innovation process itself. So starting from support tools throughout the innovation process. We know some of them already today for simulation, for data management, and so on. But I think that we are quite close to having machines develop incremental innovations like We have examples like the barbecue sauce from the IBM Watson system, which is now already, I think this was in 2014 already, where they fed the system with information on users, with information on competing products, and finally came up with this AI developed product. We have other examples like books being written by AI, and we are not far from having AI really taking over more of our development activities. But I would say rather incremental innovations, because it's still hard to, we mentioned the terminology of serendipity. I see that as something still in the future carried out by humans, and also radical innovations with higher performance increases, where you think about more in-depth changes in comparison with reference solutions if you speak about an innovation.
Yeah, wow. Great summary. Thanks for sharing that with us. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. You're doing some really great work. And if people want to connect with you or find out more information, where could they go?
The easiest access point, because at Fraunhofer I'm representing overall 6 institutes and almost 1,500 people working in innovation research. So this is the website of the Fraunhofer Group for Innovation Research, where you find first my contact information, but also links to publications from all the people working here in the institutes of the Group for Innovation Research. This is, I would say, a great access point. Otherwise, I mean, from Pforzheim University, we have the Institute for Human Engineering and Empathic Design, also through the website, where we bring together designers with engineers and business administrators to come up, let's say, with also the more radical, more inspirational points of innovation here.
Great. Well, we'll put a few links in our show notes for that, so people can find that information. And it was a real pleasure speaking with you. I enjoyed it. You have a really interesting set of research that you're working on, and I look forward to meeting you when we're able to travel and get out again and see each other again and meet at a conference or some event again. So.
If I'm allowed to add up one thing,
please.
Yes. We also, let's say, we also have some people working in the US for Fraunhofer, and for example, we are trying to strengthen this, because from our perspective, Fraunhofer being a research organization for applied research, it might be beneficial to create a closer link here with some industrial partners. For example, we have in South Carolina, the Fraunhofer South Carolina initiative. So to access or to get in contact with Fraunhofer here for collaboration, the US website of Fraunhofer is also a very good access point.
Good. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, good. Any last minute things you'd like to share before we sign off?
Finally, I hope that all of you are investing in innovation, and I hope that we will be able to creating a better world for the future based on innovation and innovation activities. Thank you very much.
As do I. Yeah, thanks, Sven. Okay, you have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us this week for Innovation Talks with Paul Heller. For additional information on today's topic, check out sopheon.com, SOPHEON.com, where you will find plenty of innovation-centric content and corporate best practices. If you'd like to discuss anything with Paul or would like to get in touch with the show, email us at talks@sopheon.com.